Good afternoon, YouTube. This is the Pond Diver. I'm going to try to change up my channel just a little bit. Instead of a cooking video, this is going to be, well, I'm going to start doing some real life reviews. So I find myself becoming frustrated with people giving product reviews on YouTube and on the internet, but it's more based around their opinions that they're not satisfied with the price, or it's not the right color, but anything. I wanted to do something where people can relate to. So this is just how my reviews are going to go, I guess. It's just going to be real life. I think the average buyer will find it to be more effective than just an opinion. So this first review is going to be about this Coleman pool. This is the 18-foot by 48-inch deep Coleman above ground DIY pool. It's the one with the windows in the side, which are very cool, by the way. Real nice feature on this. So like I said, it is the Coleman Power Steel Swim Vista series. And if you've ever been camping before or been in the outdoor section of any retailer, chances are you've came across a Coleman product. So I went for it. I thought that the price point was excellent. I had read some reviews, did a little bit of research, and research is key when making an investment like this, because there are so many pools that are similar. There are two major companies that sell this style pool. They call this steel, and it is steel. I thought maybe because it was light, when I picked it up and I started using or assembling at the pool, I thought maybe it was light, it could be aluminum, but no, it's steel. I used a magnet, tested, and sure enough, that's what it is. So Coleman's been around a long time. I think they got started about 1900. They started selling the gas lamps. Now I have several of their propane lanterns, that I take when I go camping, and maybe a 10 or 2 and things like that. But there's something you need to know about this Coleman pool. Coleman does not design, nor do they manufacture pools. Some reviewers are saying, well, they, after they got the Coleman pool, they wish they went with an Intex. Intex is another well-known pool distributor, but as far as I can tell, they are not a manufacturer. This particular pool is manufactured by a company called Bestway. The same exact amenities, from the ladder to the pump to the liner itself, are all produced and manufactured by a company called Bestway. Bestway in turn sells these under licenses to these other companies. The companies then market it with their name on it. They may add a feature here or there, but nonetheless, it's made by the parent manufacturer, Bestway. That's important information to have. That'll come in handy as we continue on in this review. There's a lot to discuss, so let me pause for a moment. I'll get right back to it. Let's talk about the build now. The structural integrity. Like I mentioned earlier, this is steel. And it is strong. It's stronger than you would imagine. When you go and you start, it's completely disassembled when you get it, but when you start taking it out of the box, you'll notice it seems like there's 1,000 pieces, but it's very easy. Speaking of 1,000 pieces, there is instructions that come with this, but they are absolutely worthless. The instructions do and will impact my review at the end of this video. And if you purchase this pool, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you see the instructions. Now, I'm going to make this real easy for you. So there's 3 different pieces that you need to be concerned with. There's a horizontal piece that goes from... Okay, let me just do this. So there's a T-bracket right here, okay? There's a horizontal piece that goes from here to here. There is a vertical piece that goes from the ground to the T-bracket, and then the T-bracket. It's that simple. You really don't need instructions on how to do this. What you'll do is you'll insert all of your horizontal pieces first, all the way around the pool. You'll come back, and the way I did it, you came back, and then I inserted the T-piece right here, this T-coupling. I placed my hardware with the little, it's not plastic, it's some type of rubber, elasmoteric or something like that, and then you just slide that in. You don't need a hammer or anything. You can actually just press it in. It's a good strong fit. And then you simply take the the vertical piece, which is the longer piece, and you slide it up in there and you click it into that T coupling. You go all the way around the pool and do this. It's very simple. You'll then take the foot, slide the foot on all your T pieces, your vertical pieces, and then you stand it up. I would recommend 2 people. 1 person can do this, but 2 people is what I recommend. And also, you need to place each foot on something sturdy. It could be a 2x6. It could even be as small as a 2x4. I don't recommend that. I do recommend using pavers. I had some 12x12 pavers. You don't have to use anything that size, and it is a little gaudy, but if you don't use something sturdy, your feet will sink into your ground as soon as it rains, and there's a lot of weight in this water. So it's about 933 cubic feet of water, which turns out to be about 9,300 pounds. That's 4.5 tons of water. A lot of force exerted on the sides of this liner, so you need to keep that in mind. It needs to be level. You've heard people say that. Let me explain why it needs to be level. You've already seen this in the video so far. I'm going to make it a little clearer now. If you look over to the side of the pool, you can see there's quite a bit of white lining that's showing, okay? If you look over there, you can see where it's not as much white lining. Now, I can actually adjust this by either adding or taking away, or either dropping down one of the feet. It just happens that in that area the ground is unlevel, so it gives a perception that the pool is unlevel, and it is in my case. That's a fault of my own. I didn't spend enough time leveling it. You need to take the extra time to do that, and maybe here in a couple of weeks or so, I've got a great way of leveling it. I just thought about it after I put the pool in. That's my apologies. So the build, once again, I'm very satisfied with the build. Let's move on to the amenities. So real quick before we talk about amenities, I wanted to tell you one more thing about the build. I know a lot of reviewers out there are saying that they were able to build it, in about stand it up completely, wreck the whole pool in 30 minutes. Some people even said 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and another said about an hour. But maybe it's because I'm too picky, or just I wanted it to be built right. It took me from unboxing to actually start filling it with water about 3.5 hours. What you have to keep in mind is, as you're filling this pool, there's 2 things. You've got to make sure that these verticals are at 90 degrees. They need to be standing straight up and on the X, Y, and Z axis. They don't need to be pushed in or pulled back. If your pool is unlevel, it may cause them to actually tilt to one or the other side. You don't want that. That compromises the liner at that time. Now, also, when you are filling this pool up with water, you must get the creases out of it. Between 1 and 2 inches is your best time to do so. If you have more than 2 inches of water in this pool, you will not be able to move the liner. I was not able to get all my creases out in time, and what that does is that actually causes particles or particulates to gather. I don't know if you can see it in the video or not, but you can see where those particulates will gather in those, and it could over time weaken the liner depending on the traffic and things of that nature. So just keep that in mind. You'll see that in other reviews. I just wanted to touch on it as well because it is very important. Now we can move to amenities. The first amenity I want to talk about is this ladder. Now I personally don't like this ladder. I don't think very many people who have reviewed this ladder like it either. This ladder is not suitable for people over 200 pounds. Now I read that this ladder can withstand 250 pounds, but I think that was testing in extremely forgiving conditions. The ladder is easy to assemble, but the instructions for the ladder are just as worthless as they are for assembling the pool. I would recommend that you trial and error the ladder before you try to decipher the instructions. Now that is not a fault of Coleman. It may be a fault of their marketing, but for not overviewing the instruction process. but that's probably a fault of Bestway because it is actually their ladder. So this would be strike 2 for the ladder amenity. The other amenities like the broom and the debris catcher, those are fine. Those are dime a dozen every day. They come with the pool. They're a nice feature. Don't have much to say about that, but there is one more component we need to talk about before we get to the final review. So let me make my way over to the pump. So the pump, I could probably spend an entire video on this pump. Let me get the disclosures out of the way first. I know that you've seen and read other reviews where people say we're going to go with a sand filter and this and that, and it's more efficient and all that. When people say that, they really don't have a good understanding of what they're referring to or what they're talking about. They just haven't done enough research. I will tell you the problem with this pump is that it's way too undersized. Not to mention that it is very loud, okay? It's shockingly loud and shockingly undersized. Now, there's ways that I've defeated this, which are not mandatory, but it's just ways that I defeated it, and I'll explain as we go throughout this review. But one of the problems that I have an issue with is if you go up to the discharge valve, it is only about 4 feet from one of the first suction valve, and then about 4 feet later another suction valve. So you seriously cannot even see the water moving out of that valve. That's how weak it is, and it is right there. I mean, let me pan out a little bit so you can have a better understanding. You see how close they are. So if water is actually coming in the fresh water is coming in there, and about 3 feet later you have the same fresh water just came in is now being sucked out. The suction on the pump is so weak that you could literally lay a piece of grass on top of either suction, there and there. I hope that I'm doing this right, and it won't even move the blade of grass. It's that weak. Now, if you've noticed in the entire video, you can see heavy movement in the water. Well, that's something that I did. It's kind of a modification, and you certainly don't have to do it, but I would recommend it. For the price point, yes, this pump is cutting short and will ultimately affect the rating that I give this product at the end of this video. But for now, it does do the job, and I'm not satisfied with it. But like I said, there is a price point. This is not a $5,000 pond or above ground pool. Okay, just to give you a little bit of background information. So I'm not a subject matter expert. I felt like I needed to stop and tell you in the middle. I'm not a subject matter expert at pools, but I do have a good understanding of hydrology. I just had, we just filled in a 4,000 gallon koi pond that had 4 pumps, 3 filters, and 2 waterfalls. So water movement is very important in a body of water, especially you're talking about 7,000 gallons here, and a pump that can only move 1/3 of the water, if that. So you're taking a high risk of water being stagnant. It doesn't matter how much chemicals or how many times you shock it. If you don't have any water movement in it, you will set up a breeding ground for mosquitoes and things like that. So when we are not in here, I added this. Not everybody will have the opportunity to do this, or if you want to do it, you go to your local hardware store. This is a pump that I've added. It's just a water, it doesn't have a filter on it, it's just pumping water. This one is a little big. It's 5,000 gallons an hour. As you can see, it's really moving the water. Now, I placed it in a position to where it's constantly moving water around this pool. All right, that's very important. So if you think about like a cyclonic event, if it was shaped like a tornado, all of your light particulates would go up to the surface towards the edge. They would spin off over here towards the edge, and your heavier particles would all fall down in the center of the pool. Now, that makes it very easy for us to clean. Now, we don't use this all the time. When we're in it, all I got to do is take it out and set it on the ground and put it back in. But it helps because I made a very inexpensive DIY skimmer. This skimmer cost somewhere about $6.5. It is it's all it is a aquatic plant basket, and I put a 3,000 micron filter on top of it. It's the same thing as like a paint strainer. So basically what happens is, as water flows through that strainer, then all of the particulates get caught in it, and you just take the skimmer out when you're not swimming, and you just go and dump it and wash it off, put it right back in. So that is what I had to do. I had to add some moving water. Now, obviously the video makes it look like it's it's cascading, but it's really not. But it is keeping the water moved because the pump is not powerful enough to handle this size pool. So let's wrap up this video. Okay, a couple of things to consider when you purchase any pool, really. A hydraulic cycle, that's just the evaporation of the pool water. How often you got to add water to the pool itself depends on what part of the country you live in. Here in North Mississippi, I've noticed that it has dropped the level at about 1 inch over 7 days. Really, it depends on the heat and the cloud cover, things of that nature. It goes with just maintaining the pool. You're going to have to keep your water level in check. Also, you're going to need to use tablets. It does not chlorine tablets. It doesn't come with a floating device or anything like that, but I picked that up for $8 at Walmart, and all you do is you add the chlorine tablets and they self-dispense over time. Very simple. You can adjust the dispense rate to your likings. Get you a pool test strip. Those are about $10. Makes a lot of sense. And also, you need to use shocker. Now, people say, well, why do I need to shock it? I'm using chlorine. You need to shock it in order to keep things in check. And you only have to do that about once a week. That's 12 times a season. That's not too bad, and it's not that expensive. And what it does is it helps eliminate invaders like algae and other microbes that could cause your water to become harmful, especially if you were to consume it on accident. Everybody swallows a little pool water every now and then, but you want to be careful on that. You want to check on this thing daily. You want to just walk the perimeter. It takes like 3 minutes. Make sure you don't have any leaks, punctures, none of your feet have settled, none of your feet are crooked. You're just checking the integrity. Let's see. The filter, there is a paper filter inside the pump that comes with it. You want to clean that thing once a week. Take it out, service it. It's real simple, but I will tell you this: it is below the center of gravity. So when you take that pump and you turn it off, you need to raise it up to the height above the pool, the level of water in the pool. If you don't do that, you're going to drain your pool in just a matter of minutes all the way down to where your discharge and suction valves are. Alright, so here in a minute I'm going to get to the final review. I just want you to think about some things that you need to take in consideration before you make a pool purchase like this. You got to check your local laws, make sure that your HOA, if you have those, that you're able to do that. Most states require you to have a privacy fence. Some states require, some municipalities requires your gate to be self-closing. Some municipalities actually say that you need to have signage up. Make sure that you abide by those. If you live in California, chances are, if you're going to be filling your pool up with 7,000 gallons of water, you'll have to pull a permit to use that much water. Safety wise, it's just a good idea to, if it's thundering outside, you're within the kill range. I don't care if the cloud is 30 miles off. If you can hear thunder, lightning is too close for you to be in the water. These are things you already know, but some people just don't care. Your friends are your liabilities. Don't ever, never let your children's friends come over and swim in this pool while you are not here. That is an extreme liability, and it's dangerous, and just do not do it. Don't wear shoes inside the pool. Never push off from the edges. let me think. Let me keep coming up. Don't overfill it. If you do that, you'll cause disaster. Oh yeah, and don't dive. Now, as far as this ladder, it did have these handy dandy little fins on the side that said don't dive, but after they fell off 12 times, I disposed of them. Taking in consideration the structural integrity, minus the instructions, minus the integrity of this ladder, and minus the pressure of the pump, I'm still, because of the price point, I'm going to give this pool 4 stars. I think that it's a really good idea. I think it's well worth the investment. It has nothing to do with Coleman. I saw a review the other day where this individual said in their review that Coleman needs to stick with camping supplies, but they don't know enough. They shouldn't even be on the internet. They didn't do their research. You know, Coleman, they're just like I told you earlier. They're an under license of this product here. But if I had the chance to sit in front of the marketing panel at Coleman, I would say this. I would say, have someone review the instructions on this product. Okay, that's number one. Have somebody review the instructions and make changes if deemed necessary. Okay, check spelling, check for images. You know, most time when people are doing this, they're DIYers. They like a big picture and a little explanation. But, you know, a little picture and 3 words ain't gonna cut it. It just, none of the time. Not when you're talking about something like this that in my case takes up 1/3 of my yard. So if I was sitting in front of them, I would talk about the instructions. The second thing I would do is I would say, scrap this ladder. Scrap that ladder, save the money from investing in that ladder and put it in the pump. Maybe sell this ladder sold separately. By doing that, you're building up a pool that can't be touched by your competitors. You're building up at the same price point. Maybe you don't have the ladder, but you can offer this ladder or something similar, or maybe not even offer it at all. Let people go and get their own ladder, because right now this ladder hurts your overall product and it's causing negative reviews. That's what I would tell them. I think this pool is going to last for many years if we maintain it and we take it down in winter and we erect it again back in the springtime. I don't see any issue with getting several years out of this pool. I know that I've seen where people have kept them up all year round, but I don't think it's really designed for that. But in my case, 4 stars all day long. Price point at the retail price point was $5.99. Walmart had it on sale for about $380. I felt like that was an excellent deal, so we jumped on it. One last thing I wanted to say, closing this review out, is on average there's 3,500 drownings every single year in the United States. If you do not know CPR, it's real simple. Just to self-teach yourself on the internet, or maybe even look on YouTube. It's very simple. Hard and fast is the new thing they're coming up with now. Don't use the office to get your training from, but I'm just saying it's always a good idea. You never know what's going to happen. This pool is deeper than you think. I was shocked by the size when I started putting it together, actually. So look, if this video helped you make a decision, let me know in the comments. I also want to know your suggestions. If you have a difference of opinion, that's fine with me. This whole entire time I tried to go completely factual on, you know, it is what it is kind of thing. I don't like the ladder. You might say that's my opinion, but if you ever get a chance to step on this ladder, you would agree that it actually is not sound. So I know you think that's my opinion, but it's a fact. I can't hide that. And the fact that the pump is not strong enough, that's not an opinion either. That is also a fact. So if you differ, I want to see it in the comments. I need your and I value your input. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. I apologize for the length of it. Subscribe to this channel for more DIY. Next week I'm going to put a video together on how to make a heater for this pool. I think you're really going to like it. It's not going to cost you a dime. So it's kind of like a life hack to make a heater. So anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Take care. This is Pond Diver.